Rome did not conquer the ancient world through a single brilliant strategy or overwhelming force alone. Its dominance was the result of centuries of persistence, adaptation, and an almost ruthless understanding of power. What made Rome unique was not that it always won its battles, but that it learned from its defeats better than any rival. Rome's rise was not fast, and it was never guaranteed. It was shaped by fear of extinction, hunger for security, and a belief that survival required constant expansion. In its earliest days, Rome was surrounded by enemies. Small and vulnerable, it fought simply to stay alive. These early struggles forged a society that valued discipline, unity, and military service. War was not an occasional event in Roman life, it was a constant condition. Every generation expected conflict, and every citizen understood that Rome's safety depended on its ability to fight. As Rome expanded across Italy, it developed an unusual approach to conquest. Instead of destroying defeated communities entirely, Rome often absorbed them. Former enemies became allies, and allies could eventually become citizens. This policy was revolutionary in the ancient world. Most empires ruled through fear alone. Rome ruled through inclusion, backed by force. This meant conquered peoples had a stake in Rome's survival. They paid taxes, supplied soldiers, and benefited from Roman law and protection. The Roman army was the backbone of this system. Roman legions were not just fighting units, they were institutions. Soldiers trained relentlessly and followed strict discipline. Punishments were harsh, but rewards were real. Land, pay, and honor awaited those who served well. This created loyalty not only to commanders, but to Rome itself. Roman military success also came from flexibility. When Rome faced new enemies, it adapted. After suffering defeats at the hands of enemies who fought differently, Rome changed its tactics, weapons, and formations. It borrowed ideas freely, improving them rather than clinging to tradition. Defeat was not shameful in Rome. Failure was a lesson. Wars against powerful rivals hardened this mindset. When Rome faced Carthage, a wealthy naval empire, it was outmatched at sea. Instead of surrendering, Rome built a navy from scratch. It studied captured ships, copied their designs, and trained sailors relentlessly. Though Rome lost many battles, it refused to quit. Over time, persistence wore Carthage down. Victory did not come from brilliance alone, but from endurance. Conquest brought wealth, and wealth brought new problems. As Rome expanded beyond Italy, it gained provinces across the Mediterranean. These territories were governed for Rome's benefit. Taxes flowed back to the capital. Slaves fueled the economy. Generals returned as heroes, celebrated for their victories. But expansion also destabilized the Republic. Power concentrated in the hands of military leaders who commanded personal loyalty from their armies. Civil wars erupted as ambitious men fought for control of Rome itself. Ironically, Rome conquered the world while struggling to govern itself. Yet even internal conflict strengthened Rome's dominance externally. Rival leaders competed by conquering new lands, gaining wealth, and proving their legitimacy through victory. Expansion became both a solution and a symptom of Rome's instability. When Rome transitioned from republic to empire, conquest did not stop. Under the emperors, Rome reached its greatest territorial extent. Legions marched into Britain, pushed deep into Europe, and secured borders in the Middle East and North Africa. Roads followed the armies, binding distant regions to the center. Forts became cities, trade followed conquest, and Roman culture spread alongside law and language. Rome's power was not only military, it was administrative. Once a region was conquered, Rome imposed order. Taxes were collected systematically, laws were standardized, local elites were co-opted into governance. This reduced resistance and made empire manageable. Rome understood that controlling people required more than force. It required structure. Yet Rome never conquered without resistance. Rebellions were frequent. Some were crushed quickly,
Others nearly broke the empire. Rome responded with brutal efficiency. Entire cities were destroyed as warnings. Populations were enslaved or displaced. Peace, in the Roman sense, often meant silence enforced by power. Still, many regions accepted Roman rule because it brought stability. Roads improved trade, pirates were suppressed, local conflicts were reduced. For ordinary people, life under Rome could feel safer than life under constant warfare. Rome did not promise freedom, it promised order. What allowed Rome to conquer so much of the ancient world was its ability to combine violence with pragmatism. It knew when to be ruthless and when to compromise. It knew when to destroy and when to integrate. It offered incentives alongside threats. Few empires mastered this balance. But Rome's success carried a hidden cost. Constant expansion required constant resources. Armies had to be paid, borders had to be defended, loyalty had to be maintained. Over time, the system strained. The same military machine that built the empire became difficult to sustain. Conquest slowed, defense replaced expansion. Rome conquered the ancient world not because it was morally superior or divinely favored, but because it understood power deeply. It recognized that survival demanded strength, that strength demanded organization, and that organization demanded discipline. It learned faster than its enemies and endured longer than its rivals. The Roman Empire reshaped the ancient world in ways still visible today. Laws, languages, cities, and borders trace back to Roman conquest. But Rome's story is also a warning. The same methods that build empires can hollow them out from within. Conquest brings glory, but it also brings complexity, inequality, and dependence on force. Rome conquered the ancient world by refusing to stop fighting, by adapting relentlessly, and by turning enemies into assets. It ruled not because it never fell, but because every time it fell, it stood back up stronger, and for centuries that resilience made Rome unstoppable.